being attentive to the stars. So my inspiration came, I wanted the children to feel comfortable within their environment, so I decided to use a stimulus which they would all be able to sympathise with. So that I used a hedgehog because I knew that they would know a little bit about it, and that would also make them feel comfortable to talk to me, so that they'd be able to open up quickly or quicker. I love the outdoors, and therefore I use that as a stimulus. And also having a bridge between the indoor classroom and the outdoor classroom by using the hedgehog was a good way to move forward. And also the importance of using the outdoor classroom as a third teacher is something that really inspires me within my own practice. I also believe that attention underpins all areas of the curriculum. So there's not one lesson that children don't need to be like paying attention in or being attentive to something, because they need to be looking, they need to be listening for the learning to take place. And then finally, I believe in inclusion, for I think inclusion is absolutely vital, that each child in the class gets an equal opportunity. It doesn't matter where they're from or if they have a learning difficulty or a difference. It's important that they know that they're valued within the classroom, whatever the weather. So my star in the middle, it says attention, and then you've got collaboration, communication, sense-based experience, and place-based learning. And this is then all intertwined through inclusion, and also by this glow that surrounds it. So inclusion. An exploration of inclusion requires us to make explicit the particular values, their meaning and implications that we wish to see enacted through education. So what I mean by this is that it's the teachers have to model inclusion so that children in the class know how to respond to each other. So if you're treating each child with respect and giving them equal opportunities, then the children in your class also take to this. And this quote also relates to the notion that knowledge is a social process which takes place through interaction within the world around. So this links within attention, but also a bit with place-based learning. So you can already see that it's starting to intertwine within the star. And the yellow element is the inclusion of our star. On the Friday morning, I realised how integral it was that the children in the group felt like they belonged, and that their voices were being heard, and that they were being acknowledged. This then moves on to attention. Now, I want you to imagine that you've been sitting in a lecture theatre all day, or in a room all day, or just somewhere for a really long period of time, having to fully focus on the person in front of you. And after a while, you're just going to get bored, or your mind's going to wander. And this is how children in your class may feel like their mind may begin to wander. And this is actually because you think 4 times faster than you can speak, so your mind will easily get distracted. But within attention, there's the initial hurdle of focusing, but then the second hurdle is being to sustain that focus. And then this was on the day. The children had retrieved long lists of items, and this is seeing how well they listened and if they could hear and remember the information as well. So that not only are they listening, but they then have to remember, and they then have to do. And it's all these processes that interlink within each other. But as early as the late 1800s, theorists were beginning to unpick the notion of attention, and this statement then provided me with a baseline that the activities that children were going to partake with on the day, they had to be engaging, and they had to be able to reach this level of flow for this engagement, and to be fully involved, to be fully engaged. And this then links within being within the attentive part of your brain. I think it's the frontal cortex, but then that links with being goal orientated and goal focused. But furthermore, Bradley, he was the theorist I spoke about a moment ago, and he was saying how your body and your mind, when during active attention, they need to be engrossed within it. They need to be prompted within this interest. They need to be able to fully engage within something, and that is then part of the attentive mind and the attention part of the brain. And this is because it's a specific psychological mechanism and a characteristic of individual psychological behaviour. So everyone will act differently. So collaboration and communication. Recognition, respect and appraisal respect were presented on the day. Children were communicating well effectively, and this was through both use of both respects. So they were listening to each other, they were praising each other, but they were also getting appraisal back, and they were also recognising when someone was doing something correctly and being respectful towards that. And this then opened up a whole state of openness and discussion and honest discussion. And this is then interlinked with mutual respect, but also this created this like culture around us that we were able to speak freely and to be open-minded, and this then reduced the stress within the group, because it wasn't like, oh, panic, or I don't want to say this, I'm too scared to say this, but it was really open and fluid, and everyone was just able to speak their mind. And it's really important for social development to be able to speak your mind, but also for language development as well. So not only is it integral within it, but you get to improve your social skills and your language skills because you're learning from each other. So place-based learning. This cross-disciplinary and intercultural environment promotes well-being of social and ecological place. So being within a place helps you to create these purposeful and meaningful links, and it just creates an atmosphere where knowledge is produced locally, and you can also interact with and reconnect with your surroundings. This exposes pupils to become more open-minded and critical thinkers, and it develops their problem-solving skills through becoming autonomous learners and through learning from themselves, but also through learning through others. And then on the day this actually happened, and children were noticing new things for the first time when they were walking through the field and exploring. And at one point we all got down and we looked at these spider webs on the floor, which were like in the grass. And another point when we were walking, we were all standing still and we were listening to these sounds, and they just heard these water droplets coming from somewhere. We went and explored where these water droplets come from, how they got there and why they were there. And then there's further links within our sense-based learning. So using our senses to best promote learning. So not only using our sight, but also our hearing and our touch and our smell and our feel. So Piaget believes that the new ideas are accommodated within the sensory motor stage. And this stage means that the infants begin to align the sounds with the sight. And this then is further explained that when you're, for example, when you're very young, if you hear a loud sound, you hear it and then you look at it, and then that process slowly begins to align within you. And then Lard says that by using senses simultaneously, it actually creates an environment of flexibility and of a durable nature, that you're then able to use all these different senses all together, and it will actually improve your learning because you'll be remembering it in different ways. And this concept of sense-based learning is indispensable, and it's vital to allow children to be involved within this, regardless of any additional need that they may have. For example, I had a little girl in my group who was fully visually impaired, but that then meant that I then had to remember there were 4 other senses that we can use, and they were all at our disposal. So although the whole morning revolved around sight, it then turned into an almost on a bigger scale, because we were able to use different senses, and I actually elicited different senses from the children because I realised, okay, hold on, we can't all see, so what can we all do? And the LSA brought this brilliant thing out. It was a piece of paper, and it had lots of and she put bits of string on it, and this then actually showed the child could then feel the sounds instead of seeing the sounds and drawing the sounds. But yeah, so this then also, when you're linking this within our sense-based learning and the inclusion aspect, it's all starting to link together here. We're all talking to each other, we're all in this space together, we're moving through this space together, we're using all of our different senses, we're collaborating together, we're communicating together. And this then links within our stars glow. And this is the bit that's a little bit confusing, but I really want to explain it. I'm going to try and explain it so it's understandable. So you have our star, and inside our star we've got all of the 5 concepts that I've now discussed, and that's all within our star. But there's something, on the morning there was something else, and that something else was this glow that was created. And this glow came from the idea that it was attention and communication and collaboration and sense-based learning and place-based learning, and it was all together, and it was all being pulled together, and it was actually being pulled together through this like assemblage, and it was of different matters which were forming to create this glow. And this was referring almost like what Deleuze and Guattari referred to as like the body without organs, and it was showing that the inner body is constantly moving and evolving and changing and adapting through this like openness and elasticity, and that was present on the morning, that we were all being open, we were all adapting, we were all changing, we were all moving, and that was creating this glow around us. And this is then almost like a vibrant matter that was surrounding our star, and that was causing this constant state of movement. And yeah, this glow was then encouraging us to move in different ways that we wouldn't have actually gone to in other places. And this is why I'm going to take this into my practice, and I'm going to use this star as almost like a baseline. And I'm going to think, right, am I eliciting attention from the children? Like, how can I do this in this lesson? How can I include the senses, which I know help attention? How can I include place-based learning, which I know help attention? And how can I include inclusion and communication and collaboration? How can I merge all of these together? Because I know that this glow that then surrounds it is almost empirical to their learning, because they just learned so much in the morning but although the thing is about what they learned, although it's not concrete, it actually elicited imagination and collaboration, and they were able to develop their own skills in their own way. For example, when we were in the field, they could hear these rain droplets behind us, and they thought that they were actually hedgehogs rustling around us because of the hook at the beginning when we'd have the hedgehog there. But they could hear rain droplets, but because they were so inspired by the whole concept, they went with it and they went forward with it. And this then, their communication, their collaboration then just sparked almost, because they were wanting to talk to each other, wanting to share ideas, wanting to learn from each other. And then this then further developed their interest. This was also done through resources, because we had the magnifying glasses and we had the pots and we had the rucksack, and they had all these other bits and bobs with them, which was aiding their learning and aiding that interest, and they wanted to explore. But this then links back to our glow, where they were being open and they were being excited about it and they were wanting to engage. One of my reflections was that I didn't question enough. However, I think that sometimes it's better to stand back. But I think for me, it's really important to now realise, when should I stand back and when should I step in? And then the impacts for my learning, I think it's just incredible. I think that the whole idea of the star's glow is really impacted through the sense-based learning. And that Sega said that it was indispensable pedagogical principle, that's what he or she, they believe. And I completely agree. I think that we push our senses to the side so much because we just think that everyone should see and everyone should hear. And actually, I think touch is so important, smell is so important, even taste. I think that if I'm ever going to do an activity like this again, I'm going to bring a taste bag and a smell bag with me. And I'm not sure how I'd bring the taste into it yet, but definitely the smell bag, having the smell of the soil, the smell of the leaves, because I just think it's so vital to have these things within your classroom. But also, pupil voice was a really big thing that came out of the day, that they were able to talk to each other, and they were all being so appreciative of each other and respecting each other and wanting to guide each other's learning and just supporting each other as well. When someone didn't quite grasp a concept, or when someone didn't quite grasp someone else's idea, they were just talking it through. And I think that also comes back to our star's glow, where really that was the energy that was being created. They were excited, but also this energy was being created from our glow. And then I think that it's just, you can put this star in any situation and it can be used. There isn't just one lesson where I'd say, oh no, you definitely can't use it. You can use it in PE, you can use it in English, you can use it as a beginning part of an English lesson, especially going outdoors and becoming one with that place. We were already starting to create stories when we were making our hedgehogs at the end, and when they were filming it and making their own stories up about these hedgehogs, and they loved it, and they were talking about it, and they just really wanted to be there and to make up these stories. And that's just so important. And you can even you could then use this as a starting point to take into your English lesson, or for a science lesson talking about habitats and hypothesizing what's going to happen. Where do hedgehogs live? Why do they live there? What time of year is it? And then lastly, I know I've gone over 15 minutes, but lastly, I just want to say that when everyone's on placement, I really want you to get outside. I want you to go for a run or a walk or do something interesting just within your surrounding, just to get outside and be involved with the outdoors and just become one with nature. Let your body and let your mind be exposed by nature. And we all know that it's so important, especially from our leadership module, that stress is a real thing that teachers face, and that when we get into the classroom, it's so vital that you don't feel stressed, because the children will realise it, and it will hinder their learning, because you can't be the best that you can be. And I know that everyone here is going to be an incredible teacher. And thank you for listening.